he was born into a very poor family. Some say his name is actually Ghazali with a shadda from Ghazal, which is a carder of wool, which is what his father did, and others say it's from Ghazala, which was a small suburb of a village of in the area of Tus, which is currently in northern Iran. He had a brother, Ahmed, who becomes a scholar and is more noted for his Sufism and his poetry than Imam al-Ghazali. But his father was a very simple man, but he loved the ulama. And he did not have the opportunity to study when he was young, but he really loved knowledge and he loved the ulama. And so he used to serve them. And because of that, some of the Qawm say that he was given these two great sons by Allah out of his love for the ulama, Allah, and his service towards them. He was given these sons, but he died when Imam al-Ghazali was probably about 5 or 6 years old, and he left in his will a small amount of money that he had, and entrusted a very pious man in the village to take care of him and his brother. But that money ran out pretty quickly, and so the man who was caretaking for the two of them actually put them in a madrasa, because in those days you could go to a madrasa and you would get bread and water and maybe some soup and lodgings. And so Imam al-Ghazali was famous for saying, تعلمت العلم لغير الله فأبى أن يكون إلا لله. I learned knowledge for other than the sake of Allah, but knowledge refused to be other than for the sake of Allah. In other words, that he entered into the madrasa because he needed a place to live and eat as a young boy. But his knowledge ended up being for Allah, even if that wasn't the original intention. His first teacher, he had one Ibn Sarraj and Al-Razkari. These two were probably, he surpassed them pretty quickly. He then went, when he was still very young, he went to Nisapur, which was part of the Seljuk. And the Seljuks have different, like this was part of the Seljuk dynasty, but the Seljuks, there's the Seljuks of Central Asia, the Seljuks of Sham and Iraq, and then the Seljuks of Anatolia. So they're all from the same ethnic group, but they actually have different centers of their empire. And the Seljuks here were in power. They were a great dynasty, and they were great defenders of the Sunnah. And they were up against the occultic element of the Hermetic botany element that threatens orthodoxy. So they actually fought that element. And Imam al-Ghazali aligns with them. But he went and he studied, before he reached 20, he went and he studied in Nisapur. And he had some great teachers, but he surpassed them all. There's no teacher that he had that he would eventually surpass him, including Abu Ma'ali al-Juwayni. So when he was on his way back to Tus, he had spent I think 3 or 4 years studying, and he had what are called ta'liqats. These are like his notes, and he had them in a like a sack that he was carrying, and the caravan that he was in was seized by brigands, and he writes that one of the thieves took his mikhla, his bag. And he asked the head of the thieves if he would give him back his tell him to give him back his bag. And the man said, why should he do that? And he said, he asked him by Allah, he said, I just spent several years gathering all this knowledge, and if he takes it from me, it'll be a disaster for me. And the thief laughed at him, and he said, what kind of knowledge is that a thief like me could steal it from you? That's not real knowledge. If I could steal it, it's not knowledge. And Imam Al-Ghazali said, هذا منطق أنطقه الله ليرشد به أمري. This is a logic that God inspired him to speak in order to guide me. And then he gave him back his ta'liqat, and he went and he spent 3 years memorizing everything he had learned. And he swore that he would never study anything except that he would put it to memory. And he had a phenomenal memory, but this is what he did. So